Success can change your relationship with yourself. Do you know that? Success can distance you from yourself. Let's talk. Hi, my name is Judith. I'm a psychologist and a well-being coach. I work with high-performing leaders and executives, and I help them identify and fix their well-being gaps. If you'd like to work with me on a personal level, then you have to apply through my executive well-being partnership. You can get more information about that using the link provided in the description below. Now let's get into the video. This video is focused on your relationship with yourself and how that can change as a result of the success you've attained, as a result of the success you've been exposed to, what that means for you and what you can do about it, and make sure you're able to have a healthy relationship with yourself. So let's get into it. There's something about success that tends to give us a conditional sense of self-worth. And it's very, very dangerous, because what happens when you lose the success? What happens when you have to step out of maybe the limelight, maybe step out of an organization that you set up? What happens when you go through trials and tribulations? What happens when life happens? What happens to your self-worth? Do you lose your sense of self-worth? Do you feel unworthy when you fail? There's something called the identity trap, and it's framed as I am what I achieve. And this can sound very cool, if you are at the top, you are doing fine. So what's the point? There's no cause for alarm. I'm doing great already. But when it does happen that maybe you are that person who, everyone has spoken very greatly about, you've been featured in so many magazines, everyone has told you about, oh, he's raised this much capital, your business is thriving, this is the amount of revenue, you've gone public, whatever that looks like for you personally. And now your performance is now determining your worth to yourself, right? Your success, your performance is letting you know whether or not you are good enough, right? This can trap you in that identity. Yes. What then happens as a result is that you lose touch with your own intrinsic value. You lose touch with the fact that you are much more than what you do or achieve. Success is what you have. It's not who you are. The success you've achieved is great, all good, all well, but that's not all there is to you as an individual. There's another thing that also makes our relationship with ourselves change, get stringent, is the pressure to constantly stay relevant. Is the fear of being ordinary. You've achieved so much. So losing your title, losing the accolades, losing the admiration can plunge you into identity crisis. You have to be extremely careful of that. It's very, very interesting how as humans, right, sometimes we forget the fact that we matter a lot more than just the roles that we play, what the world knows of us, the identity that the world sees about us. We are much more valuable than just what we do. And when you have that fear, when you move from a space of lack, you now have that fear that you can't slow down, because what happens when you become irrelevant? You might be an idol, maybe a K-pop idol, and you know that going to military, for example, can mean that you then are not able to have a strong comeback again. And that shakes up your identity, and it gets very, very tricky. Sometimes it can be the tunnel vision that affects our relationships. We don't prioritize the relationships we have. We don't feel they are as important because, we have so many people cheering us on. We have so much to focus on as opposed to the people that matter the most. And what happens is when the noise comes, we realize we actually don't have anyone any longer because we've let go of those that mattered. We let the accolades, the appraisals, we let the admiration cost us everything else that matters. And that's very, very dangerous to leading a high quality life. For some other people, success might challenge your authenticity. You might stay stuck in that external validation loop. You feel the need to always perform an image, right? So because you've gotten to this point, there's an expectation the world has of you, and you feel like you have to stay within that expectation. If not, then who are you? How do they relate to you? And that makes you then get trapped in a persona. And not to say that persona does not align with who you are. or who you were at some point, but you now feel stuck because how do you even come out of this persona at this point in your life? Because I mean, that's what everyone knows of you and expects of you. But you are constantly evolving because you are human. Allow yourself to be, allow yourself to change, to grow, to iterate. Don't trade your truth for the applause. Don't trade your truth for the external validation, for the admiration, for the expectations people have of you. Get to know yourself intrinsically and truly. Another thing that can affect your relationship with yourself as you attain success is the isolation that comes with being at the top. There's the isolation where people can't really relate to you. So you find it very difficult to be vulnerable, to open up about your struggles. Because I mean, a lot of people are like, what do you mean you are struggling? They can't even relate to it. They can't even empathize with you. And then you feel lonely because no one can relate. No one can share your burden. No one gets where you're coming from or what you're going through. So you just bottle everything in. And this can affect your relationship with yourself because that loneliness can slowly eat you up if you're not intentional about how you should manage this. The key thing you need to do here when you notice any of these things that I mentioned is that you need to reconnect with yourself, with the you before you succeeded, with the you that feels most aligned. Because the truth is, real success is more about alignment than performance. It's more about how you feel with yourself intrinsically when the noise calms down, right? When there are no distractions. It's about who you are when no one can see. And if you don't pay attention to this, you can easily live in a loop, a never-ending loop, if you're not intentional about this. And that's why I wanted to talk about this with us. Being a leader is not something that we should feel ashamed of. But the truth is, it's also an isolating experience. That's why the Tribe Clan was created in the first place. It was created out of the need, right? The fact that we all have our emotional difficulties, right? I have been in states where I've been a leader, right? I've been an executive, right? And I'm also a psychologist, so I'm able to see things from the different perspectives. Okay, I had things I struggled with that I couldn't really share. And then I had to pause, I was able to use psychological intervention to assist myself. But the truth is there are other leaders who don't have the inclination of being a psychologist to assist themselves, to be able to understand they have access to certain tools to help them feel less lonely, to help them get more aligned with who they want to be, who they truly are. Some people might think it's because we are simply drawn to the accolades that it brings to us. Sometimes people might think it's just about, being dissatisfied with our lives, but it's not that. It really is just about you being someone who wants to create, who wants to birth new innovations to the world. You see the world, you want to cast votes for what you truly believe in, for the kind of world you want to see. You don't need to be shamed for that. But you must remember that you have to care for yourself. Because the journey of wanting to build, the journey of building, of being a builder, of being a creator, is a lonely one. And you have to be very intentional in how you create your tribe. And of course, it starts here, the Tribe Clan. So that's all for the video today. Remember, this is the Tribe Clan. It's a safe space for leaders to be themselves outside of the pressure of perfection. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.